We are energetic beings. And as energetic beings, are we living up to the full potential in a physical world? Because the divine spiritual nature of each of us is a very playful, loving creature that desires the greatest outcome that benefits all things. We get caught up in greed, and we get caught up in control, and we get caught up in being pulled outward. Where we are right now is we must first create a background and a pattern for reality.
What if I told you there are people on this planet that have been struck by lightning not once but twice? The statistical anomaly is actually quite high for one. Twice is off the chart. And then to have someone who's actually died 3 times or been close to death in an NDE 3 times. Now we're going to hear from a very, very special person that has seen the other side, come back more than once, and has a lot of wealth of knowledge. I'd like to introduce Dannion Brinkley on the Everything's Energy Show, where we talk about where everything is, in fact, energy.
That's exactly. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me. And like I said just before we went on the air, what a brilliant idea for a show. To get a good look at how the world really operates and to build off of that instead of the illusionary nature that we're operating in the present day world.
So with everything being energy, it's very curious. What did it feel like the very first time that you were literally struck by nothing but pure energy?
Yeah, lightning. It was 1975. It was on a Wednesday afternoon during a thunderstorm. I was sitting on the edge of my bed talking on the telephone like this. Landline. The lightning came down the phone line. It went into my head. It went down my spine. It welded the nails of the heels to the shoes, bass regions, threw me in the air, suspended me, and threw me back down on the bed. I am burning and I'm on fire. I cannot move and I cannot see. There was a ball of fire that came through the room. I have no idea what happened. I cannot move. I cannot position myself. And I could not bear the pain. And all of a sudden I lift out of my body. I see my body lying on the bed, but I could see. I wasn't in pain. And I could move. So my first realization about that was wherever I was right now was better than where I had just left. So there began my nature to learn what it is about everything is energy in this next life. What the near-death experience, and my first one, Michael, was a death experience, defines categorically and unequivocally without any question that we are energetic beings. We are the epitome of the electrical universe because we are energetic consciousness connected to a massive array of energetic patterns that is so wondrous it's not hidden from you once the job or task you were sent here to do is accomplished. You return to that place of awareness. I think that the near-death experience in its 50th year, the near-death experience became coined as a term by Dr. Raymond Moody this month, 50 years ago. Think about it. What would be the cultural legacy of the near-death experience in its 50th year? Everything is energy is the cultural legacy. And the faster you understand that you're an energetic being, the faster you get control in maintaining your life. The faster you understand what is important about your well-being electrically, as much as physically and as much as mentally, and how it affects you emotionally and well-being. So I think that what people need to look at once you start realizing that you're electrical is argue with yourself. How could I be electrical? I'm too skinny. I'm overweight. I'm this. My face is getting fat. Okay, my face is getting skinny. I have wrinkles. Okay, and my body and this and that. But watch, Michael.
An imbalanced energy.
Yeah, exactly. But watch. What is the legacy of the near-death experience? First, you don't die. It won't happen. Reinforces the value that everything is energy. Second, the most important, 95% of everybody who has a near-death experience says they floated above their body and they watched it lying in the bed, they watched it lying on the floor, or they watched it in the car wreck. Well, if you're floating above it, completely separate from it and identifying it as your body, that means you are not that body. The very moment that people start to think that, then they have to think of who they are, either solid, liquid, or gas. Okay, you remember the periodic table, they took out ether.
The ethereal, right? Yeah.
Okay, they took it out. Okay,
Which has mass, it has quantity.
And value within the context of
Massive
being
value.
real.
Yeah.
Of being real in the physical existence. Okay, so what do we have? Because of quantum, we have a new term, plasma. So we're plasma beings or ethereal beings. When a person starts to really think about that, it's life-changing. You know, one thing I'd like to say, too, is that I have watched you literally most of your whole life. But, you know, and I would say I'm very proud. You know, I'm very proud. And watching this show evolve and being able to take people in my age group and people in your age group who have lost so much of their way. There's so much lack of spiritual connectivity or understanding of the rule. It's just pull you outward, 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 outward. That doing this show and living in the healthcare world of energetic, electrical healthcare, you couldn't be a perfect balance for people. So I recommend everybody to follow what this program is and to realize that you're an electrical being, because the number 3 part of not being this body is the real you is electrical. And you say, well, I don't know if that's true, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll say this. Think of this, everybody. How many times does your heart beat a day? I'll answer for you. Between 94,000 and 104,000. In order for your heart to beat one time, your body has to produce 0.45 milliamps of current, or your heart won't beat. And it has to do that 100,000 frickin' times a day. So you may not think you're an electrical being. And maybe you need to convince your body to not produce that electricity that makes your heart beat. Okay? Maybe. But when we start right there, everything is energy. How do we utilize that to our greatest value? First is understanding that it is. Second is looking at the food that you're eating and taking in, how fast you can convert it to electricity.
It's literally fuel, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. 0.45 milliamps.
And you can take low octane, high octane, or you can go up into a race car, F1 racer fuel or jet fuel. And, you know, a lot of people are putting this junk in here and they're wondering why the energy's low, or their physical vehicle that's the ether is driving is getting out of shape. It's because they're putting in the wrong things.
And not taking care of the intention. Here's what the key thing about all things are energy. That means it has to have direction. That means there has to be a series of laws, a series of frequencies, a series of laws, and divine instrumenting systems which operate, which gives it direction. So that if it's energy, what it formulates itself into. And we are all doing that every single day with our thoughts.
Exactly.
When you're
Every
dead,
thought has power.
and it affects the entire movement. It's so hard to sit here in this one spot and be able to say that every thought you have, good and bad, affects everything. That seems so crazy even as I say it. But
If you
still
think
true.
about basic physics, to every action is a reaction. If a thought has any momentum of energy, it's going to react. You're going to have a reaction to that action. So if I think I'm upset or I'm in fear or I'm angry, I'm going to actually project and create those feelings because I'm focusing on them, I'm shining this light on them. If I think love, light, peace, harmony around me, there might still be this chaos around me, but at least for that moment, I'm projecting something into the future that's going to create a reaction. So to get from one place to the next, you actually have an intention. I intended to drive here to do this interview. It started with me intending and putting out that information. The interview with you, I said, let's have this interview. Every action creates a reaction, and look where we are right now.
We're doing the interview.
Yeah.
So it's about not only energy, everything's energy. It's how to constructively focus that energy through intention to achieve the goals in life. You have to think this way, everybody. Wherever you go to member of your gym membership, if there's a gym membership, there's also other kinds of memberships and things that you can attach yourself to that you work out. If you're going to work out the physical body, a lot of people see in therapists, you're working out your mental body. But then there's an ethereal self or the electrical self that is proven to exist based on the near-death experience and based on the fact that when you come into this world, you take a breath. And when you leave this world, you're a half a breath away from the next world. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're a half a breath away. And you can have all the molecules and atoms and all the chemical reactions and all the electrical impulses you want. But when you take that last breath, you leave. And that body's there with everything, has everything it needs to live, except it doesn't have you.
So let's bring it back to this experience where you're floating outside of your body, because I'm sure a lot of people are really curious what happens when I leave this plane. A lot of people are afraid to die, and really I think it should be a celebration because we don't die, we just return to a source or something greater. And I think we actually live in heaven and hell now. It's based off your karma, and how you operate in this lifetime is you either live happy and in heaven, or you live in a lower frequency, which you'd call hell. Did you experience, or can you explain the feeling, or it is vivid explanation as possible. How did you feel? What did you see when you were between worlds or on the other side?
Okay, when where we left this conversation, I was floating above my body, looking down at it, and I was free. They loaded me in the ambulance, and I watched all of that. I was watching them because I was watching the raindrops falling on the windshield. They loaded me in this ambulance, and I'm watching them doing it. I'm behind the paramedic. He's got a set of headsets on. They're just going from hearses, from Buicks and Cadillacs as ambulances to Ford trucks. He's got his little headset on. He's calling the hospitals. The doctor at the hospital said, take him to MUSC. I'm watching this. Take him to MUSC. We don't have a burn unit here. Then I heard the guy on the headphone say, he's gone. He's gone. I could feel this whispered sound in a series of 7 tones. They were vivid, Michael. They rang like if I was inside of the bell that was ringing, but it wasn't loud. I was vibrating with each of these 7 sounds. And I started down this tunnel. I came into this place of light. I'm angling and looking at where this place is, and the only word I could use to describe the feeling I had is the definition of the word sensual. When we think of sensual, we have so many things we associate it with, but that feeling of connectivity, I am connected to it, and it is connected to me. That bonding is a conscious pattern. It's not, you don't have to wonder if you're connected. And the connection doesn't have to wonder if you're there or not. You have a constant awareness of each other in the divine presence. Then I had this being that was with me. I had what I think is the single most dramatic thing of the near-death experience, because it's the only thing that comes from over there that you can bring back over here. So what is that? And everybody that's listening to this, I swear to you, this is true. You will see your entire life pass before you in a 360-degree panorama. You have missed nothing. You know how many hairs is in the nose of the doctor who pulled you from your mother. You know how many leaves was on the tree when your mother took you home in the car. There was trees around it. You know how many leaves. You knew everything. You were aware, and you were connected to it. There was no separation between you and everything else you saw. Everything. Then you will watch it from a second-person point of view as though you were your own best friend. Because the funniness of divinity, the silliness and the laughter that comes with spirituality is, if you have your best friend looking at it, no matter what they're telling you, if it's the worst crap they've ever seen in their whole life, they still love you. You know, they're not going to form an opinion about it. Or if it was the greatest thing you ever did, they're going to pat you on the back and then put you back in your place. Or if it was the worst thing that ever happened, they were going to pat you on the back and cheer you up. And then you literally become every person that you ever encountered. And you feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. Nobody gets away with anything, Michael. Nobody. The universe is fair and just. Once all this happened, I had what became now the legendary boxes of knowledge. But just before this all occurred, everybody has to understand that they will go through this life review. Will happen. So you have a chance now to change your life. You have that chance if you're smart.
So was this the kind of the weighing of the scales that occurred there? But you were in a very peaceful, calm, and central or serene, like you were very comfortable, right?
I was observing it one step removed. I was no longer that. This is what you did. This is why you did it. This is what your intention was. It never was what I did. It was why I did it.
In those moments, did you feel like that you needed to come back to finish, fix, retrieve? Did you have a feeling of like, I need to do better, or were you just at peace? Was there like, I need to go back and make sure this becomes right? Anything like that?
Hell no.
Okay.
I have absolutely no interest in going back. You
didn't even want to come back to your body.
Wasn't even a thought. Couldn't even imagine.
You were just so stoked to be there.
Going from this level of consciousness and truly facing myself, facing myself, and no way, no escape. And then this question would come, and this is my way of saying it, Michael.
Of course.
Is if God couldn't come today and God had sent you in the life you just reviewed, what difference did you and God make? Sooner or later, your whole life is going to be about your relationship to divinity and how much you've allowed divinity to flow through you into the world and the actions and things you did. This is the basic parameters for coming here, Well, what did I do? I became a hospice volunteer. I built the largest end-of-life care volunteer program for dying veterans in American history, and I am the co-author of the standard end-of-life care model that is now used by the Veterans Administration in their national program, No Vet Die Alone. It was my program.
So after dying, did you feel like you needed to encourage people that there was nothing to be afraid of?
I needed to be able to help people understand the reality of that time is over. There comes a certain time and a certain structure that everybody who is quote unquote dying, they need three things. They need that their life had value, that it mattered. Second, they need closure, which is no matter where they are, with a day to live, closure represents going progress. Life is about going forward, so you can't watch Jeopardy all day. You're going to have to figure out something to do. We're going to have to make a plan. Well, what that does is allows them to make a plan, but a plan allows them to go back and start the life review. They look back at things in their life as they have to be forced to make a plan. Well, what did you do in 54? What did you do in 70 and 35? Then they're making a plan, but they're really doing the panoramic life review. And then,
I feel like there's a call to action there for general humanity too, is you're going to come to this end of life at a certain point, and you can sit there and be in regret or wonder what little thing you could grasp onto that was successful in your life, or you could be the change in the world perhaps, that where you go, oh, I'm 70, 80, 100, whatever it is, and I'm really proud that I did that. I'm really proud that I did that. I feel like there's a lot of people walking this planet right now that are doing the Jeopardy thing. They're sitting watching TV, they're playing video games, they're smoking weed, they're achieving very, very little.
Scared to death of death.
And they're scared of death. But I know if I died, I'd be proud to leave because I know I've effectuated so many things in my lifetime. And I feel like a lot of people need that call to action of, what can I do? And a lot of people might think, well, I'm not that capable of doing anything. Kindness is the easiest thing to be capable of. You can be kind to people. You can create art. You could help people pass over, volunteer.
Everybody's going to be a caregiver, Michael.
Yeah, and every little thing that someone can do through life will add up to you could call it karma points, but you could be selfish and call it your own self-actualization of, I know when I die, I'll be happy with what I did. And I don't think anyone out there really wants to be at that point in life where they're sad for what they achieve. So Small call to action there. Now let's step forward. You were struck by lightning twice.
Okay, right.
Let's dive into number 2.
All right, but let's finish the first one.
Okay, go ahead. You're still not done.
Yeah,
there's more. Okay.
There's
I'm sorry to interrupt.
One
Go ahead.
more small part.
All right.
What created the millions and millions and millions of sales of Saved by the Light all over the world, 25 countries, 21 languages, was I put in a section called the Boxes of Knowledge. In 1975, after 2 years of learning to walk and feed myself, it took me 2 years. I was hitting the wall, breaking my nose, laying in the yard.
System was just annihilated. Yeah, you had to rebuild.
Man, every nerve I had was cooked. I have scar tissue on the back of my lungs and on the back of my heart. The open heart surgery that I had in 2014, the surgeon who did it said, there is no way, this is the truth, there is no way with what you're looking at on the outside can you believe what he looks like on the inside. All the scar tissue it is. So, well, I wrote this in 1977. I sat down and wrote what I saw once I had the panoramic life review, Michael. I went to this cathedral, this place that was built of light. I mean, it's the only way I could describe it.
This is In Between Worlds, right?
Yeah, this is still dead.
Gotcha.
I'm still dead as a... When they took me into the hospital, in the emergency room, I have it. Patient unconscious, patient not breathing, no EKG.
How many minutes?
28.
Time stops when you're in that realm too,
There's
right?
no such thing as
so that's like the years there.
It was 55 of them. I came from 1975 to 2030. All the things that I saw, but let me get to that point. I went to this crystal city, and when I went in it, these 12 beings of light appeared in front of me. And why I say beings, because they radiated. They were like illuminating, okay? And then a 13th being appeared up to my right. And this 13th being was in control, and it would designate a being, and it wasn't in order. And that being would radiate out till that was all I could see, and it would send to me this, and it was like a laptop is the best way I could describe it. And it would open up, and I would go into the events that was appearing on the laptop, just like a game. And so I wrote down all these things, and I put them aside in 1977. Well, when I came to write Saved by the Light with Paul Perry, I said, Paul, I want to put this in here. He said, but Dannion, these are like prophecies, and you've done really well. Look how many of them has come true. Because he all knew, everybody knows the story, 1977, it's 1993. And I said, well, here's the point, Paul. He took it to the publisher, and the publisher didn't want to put it in because one of the events was about 1993, okay, which the book's going to come out in 94. If it comes out with that in it, bam, here we go. So I said, look, forget it. I said, my whole purpose in my life is to get people to believe that there is a life after death. And not only is there a life after death, it's so perfectly constructed, it's so magnificent, to think it any other way is dumb. And you can be controlled and manipulated if you do that. So what these were the next 55 years of American history based on this. If you keep doing the same thing you're always doing, this is the probable future of what you're going to see. So we went from Vietnam and those little pissy wars. I've always loved healthcare because it was where I saw I could be the difference that God makes, and that I could be at a bedside of a person terrified, and because of the nature of me, I could help them find resolution, and I could support a family. And I've done this thousands of times now. But in the course of these final years, okay, from the time we went from analog to digital, remember, I had to live with these visions with analog.
Yeah.
How can you create a constant, non-variable frequency, hold a harmonic, and measure the subharmonic of the frequency? Use an analog.
Everything used to take a lot more work than today, but time is a little different too these days, and so are people's minds. But
But
there's a positive and negative to all of it.
Yeah.
You had to think about it harder if you worked harder on it.
I agree. But then a whole another world came true. So what I told Paul was, I said, Paul, listen, if this stuff comes true, I used to call that Nostradamus, when people would go, and it wasn't my predictions, Michael. It is not mine, and I have never claimed them. People make it out like it's me. But
You just tapped into a knowledge base that
was
people
these
don't know
beings
about.
of light, each
Yeah.
one sending it to me watching it, me writing it down, it comes true. Chernobyl, Fukushima, in detail, not maybe, blah, blah, blah. What EE Systems is doing is creating a whole backdrop for people to align themselves electrically to get the most out of what they're eating, most out of what they're drinking, and the most amount of what they're thinking and intentionalizing in their life. And here comes an opportunity it's advancing every day. And because I've been around 31 years, what were you, 10?
Yeah, actually, that's precisely, unless you count the birthday coming up.
Yeah. So, but see, look at the joy for me to watch what I've seen happen and stay together in a family, and to see that it was a part of a vision that this would be, and that energetic medicine would be the new key to the health paradigm. Why? Today we have a cell phone. Today sits in front of everybody is living proof the frequencies operate. Living proof that you are surrounded by radio frequencies, RF frequencies, microwave frequencies, and your cell phone is a 2-to-1 adapt specifically to achieve certain goals for you under a program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can take a picture of me shooting you the bird and send it to Steven Seagal in Russia in a minute in a second and a half.
Yeah, it takes longer to take the photo than to actually receive it at the other end.
And you cannot take a good look at energies, everything, and look at the EE systems and not see the validity of it. See, my joy is knowing that you will win, knowing that the nature of where you guys have come over these last 30 years is what people will be looking for in the next 5. They have to find a way, knowing that the food is toxic, knowing that the food is poison. They have to have the way to put nutrition in that body as organic as they can, the right amount of minerals and trace minerals, so that body can electrically transform that nutrition as fast as possible with as a little amount of the garbage that we're consuming now. And what EE Systems does, it sets up a platform giving people the potential, making it their choice to do it. So I'm really proud. So now to the second one. So I came back and I've explored energetic medicine, scalia wave technology to Russia. I've been to the World Radionics and the World Psychotronics Conference in Russia. And then I went to the World Psychotronics Conference in 1982 in the United States. And next week, I'm the keynote speaker at the World Psychotronics Conference in Chicago. Its 50th anniversary. So when you realize that this kind of science has had followers for 50 years, and it realized that it existed Tesla, it existed so many years ago, and they pushed it, stamped it out. But the part now is they can't. So 3 years later, I came back. I didn't really want to do it. I didn't really want to go save the world. And I hurt, and my back hurts, and I faint, and I pass out. So when we went to write the book, I wanted to finish this point. When I went to write the book, I said, Paul, listen, if all this stuff comes true, that means there's a life after death. If none of it comes true, it means I'm going to owe all those people an apology that I was hallucinating. This is what I told them, that I was hallucinating, okay, because I staked my belief on life after death on these visions. I put them in there. 97%. So what does that tell me? There's a life after death. What else does it tell me? We haven't changed. We keep doing the same thing we've always doing, and we're about to go into nuclear war. We're in a place where
Was that in one of the boxes?
Yes.
That's scary.
Everything that you're witnessing right now in Israel is in detail in Saved by the Light. It's in detail. I describe it in detail. And it's written down in 1977. Not maybe it was written down. That book is 30 freaking years old.
Well, to put some hope here, you did say 97%. So I hope the nuclear part never comes to fruition. Hopefully there's some divine intervention of some sort.
Oh, there will be.
Well, thank God.
Okay, but you see, there will be. But the point that we would allow ourselves, not understanding that we're electrical beings, and listening to how the world is being manipulated and controlled, because the battle for the souls of humankind is fought in healthcare.
Yeah, to your point there with healthcare, a lot of people just aren't taking care of themselves, and they kind of check out and they become what people might call an NPC. And then you have everyone else out there trying 10 times harder to make up for the energy they're taking. So another call to action would be, try to take care of yourself, try to take action, because humanity depends on all of humankind, everyone. They have to help each other to a certain degree, because if it's just 10% of the people fighting a battle, the other 90% are sitting down. Evil prevails when good men stand down.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. Where we are right now is we must first create a background and a pattern for reality. We are energetic beings. And as energetic beings, are we living up to the full potential in a physical world? When I'm laughing at my friends, Michael, I said, let me tell you something about an angel. Can you imagine that you come here in this physical plane and you fool yourself into believing that you're a physical being? You have to have the skill to get yourself to believe you're a physical being 22 hours a day. And on top of that, carry out all the tasks that are necessary that you were chosen to do when you came here and that you chose to do when you came here. And it is not complex, Michael. It's not confusing. It's as simple as a contract could be. And and every one of us knows every single part of it. It's just realizing the best thing to do is start looking at your electrical self. Because once that happens, free energies. Once you become aware of the electrical nature of this reality, they cannot suppress. They can't suppress the technologies you guys are bringing forth and the innovations I'm bringing forth. And I'll tell you, I was at the shop today, and I'll say it like this. The excitement of what those guys were in there talking about and creating was thrilling. For an old man like me, and realizing that I had a vision 50 years ago, and I'm walking around in a place that's exactly what it says. Here's how it would come about, how energy would be able to be put into place, how it would develop light frequencies that would be able to be sent, also chip technology. All this stuff, I said it 50 years ago. But to watch it come true, being dead, means everybody, everything is energy and you're going to be alive. And so after this, I had struck by lightning again. Then I had to have brain surgery. Then I had to have open heart surgery again. Then I had to be clinically resuscitated twice. So that's dead 3 times. And that's 4 experiences. 2, I don't put the clinically resuscitations as important as the 28 minutes, because I never left the room. When I came out of the open heart surgery in 2015, the nurse told Catherine, my brother and sister, that I may make it 5 or 10 minutes. If anything they needed to say, they need to get in there and say it. This nurse, this little Hispanic nurse, he was off duty, and he said that this is all true. He said that as he was leaving, I was no blood pressure, no EKG. He said something told him that this man had to live. He stayed 2 hours. He stayed 2 hours and got me to 54/30. And I'm on the machines, 54/30. Then he came back 5 hours later for another 12-hour shift. So I saw him the rest of the week, and helping me. And then.
Sounds like you get a lot of divine assistance.
Well, All of us get it. Mine is if I could fulfill the task. I believe I'm capable of fulfilling what I was sent here to do, no matter how humiliating it gets.
What is that task?
Well, it's to finish the sentence. It's to put together a system that you can understand without question. Think of this for a moment. Let's all be big shots. I say that nobody does. Without any question. I'll argue anybody. I say you're not that body. And so, with all the issues that you're dealing with, post-traumatic, traumatic brain injury, phantom pain, neurological problems because of that, what would happen if you could get out of that body? What happens if you could get out of it? Not a near-death experience, but an out-of-body experience. To reinforce the fact that you are not that body. What would that do to change your life?
Things are really unfathomable for most people. I feel like personally, I've lived and died many lifetimes in my one lifetime, because if I look back through history, and I've spent a lot of time doing that, the person I was when I was 10 is vastly different from 16, and the person I don't exist. I feel like my consciousness has evolved to a certain point where it keeps folding on itself, and some might call that evolution, but it's a dying off of old patterns and a learning of new patterns that makes me feel like I'm not the same person. And I feel like that happens more rapidly as I grow older, but it seems to have happened to you in such a significant way that it literally shattered your physical existence.
Well, it'd kill me, but
Yeah.
the point to me is this, Michael. And I rationalize this. I don't know if it's true or not, but rationalize. There's nothing anybody can tell me about death and dying. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you know.
It's like, have you been there?
Because when I'm being an asshole, that's easy. I said, let me ask you something. You think I'm going to be impressed with you? Tell me how many times you've been dead and how many people you died with. When you give me those two values, I'll tell you whether you impress me or not. And other than that, I'm just listening to you garble or marble. I need people to care about being caregivers. I know that because of where we are in this world and because we're all energies, you are about to become caregivers. There will be a massive transition wherever you think it, conspiratorial or whatever it is. The greatest transfer in human wealth in human history is happening. $10 trillion from baby boomers is passing from one hand to the next. That means there are people in transition if that economic position is in place. So that means there's going to be a need for caregiving. Caregivers need to take care of themselves. So part of the reason of asking people to take care of themselves is so they can be better to help people who didn't pay attention to this broadcast, who didn't pay attention to everything is energy, and didn't come back and forth to this show so they can find ways to relate to that, to apply it in their everyday life, like the pH balance in their water. Typical things, whether you got your vitamin D3, whether you was in the sunlight for 20 minutes, the things that are sane and normal. Did you put your feet in the ground? Did you put your feet down and go 7.8? The Schumann resonance is the frequency at which you live in. Did you ever appreciate the electrical value of the air you breathe? Air. You have an atmosphere, a stratosphere, and an ionosphere, and two subspheres. And if you look at people say, well, I don't believe that air is electricity. Okay, well.
Stop breathing and see what happens.
Go. All right, don't put them there yet, Mike. Don't put them there yet. Watch this. Say, well, let me ask you something. What if I could prove to you without any question that the atmosphere is electrical and you would have no way escape it? Well, I don't think that's possible. Well, there's 168 weather modification patents at the United States Patent Office today. Read one of them. Read one and tell me the atmosphere is not electrical.
Well, to create fire, you actually need oxygen. There's no fire without oxygen. It literally just distinguishes itself.
See, think about it. Okay, think about it. So the playfulness, what I like about us and our friendship, Michael, is we can be deadly serious but playful. Because the divine spiritual nature of each of us is a very playful, loving creature that desires the greatest outcome that benefits all things. We get caught up in greed, and we get caught up in control, and we get caught up in being pulled outward. Outward. not inward, but outward. Sports figures, all this stuff that pulls you outward to keep you from touching that divine place in you. Well, looking at that everything is energy slows their ability to stop us from realizing who we really are. Okay? We are energetic beings who come into this thing as an extension because it is necessary to measure certain things that appears to be reality to achieve fundamental goals in some other plane of existence. And the final thing I'd like to say, when I was there, Michael, I'm watching this crowd. I'm still Dannion, and I'm not sure where I am, but I liked it a lot. Okay? And most of that stuff that I'd seen in the vision, I had absolutely no freaking idea what it was. None.
You downloaded some knowledge and then it pieced it together, I'm sure, afterwards, because you were in a quantum state where it's just
Exactly.
And then later you're like, okay, I've got to there's some puzzle pieces. I can picture that.
It was exactly what you just described. And I sat down when I could write. I wasn't shaking and falling in the floor and crap, peeing on myself. It was horrible. It was horrible. I'd write it down and I tried it. And when Paul and I sat down to write it, we took information, we put it in boxes. We tried to group it. Okay, that's where the boxes came from. All right, so when we put it in that place, here is 20 years later, before I even pulled it out. Okay, I didn't have any idea. But here's what was important. And I think this is like the first time I've ever said this. They were having a discussion. These beings were having a discussion, and I hate to say it like this, but it's true. At least it's my perspective. They were having a discussion, Michael, but they were talking about we as human beings, spiritual beings in human form. And that we were, and this was very important, this always worried me, we were heroes and heroines. And I guess that I knew a point would come when that would be an issue. But they made the emphasis on heroes and heroines. And that the courage that it takes to come here and in this form, physical, to co-create with the divine. Nobody's got guts enough to do that except us. And I could sense admiration, and I'm not saying resentment. I'm not going to say that because I don't want people getting mad at me that they get resentment in heaven. But I could sense a sense of admiration. And I would normally detect admiration as either a weakness or a strength or something I could manipulate. This is the Dannion thought. So the only other thing is this.
Kind of like it seems like you just said that we come down from this place above, so to speak, and the ones that come here are like the ballsy ones. The
greatest there is. The worst person you know, the most evil bastard you've ever seen, is at what his profession is and what his job is. There is nobody better. There is nobody better at what you're doing than you, or you would not be here doing it. It isn't scattered. It isn't maybe it's like this. This is designated functional frictional reality that operates in coherent flows of streaming and current. And you can, when you think of it in that way and identify it that way, then all of a sudden you begin to realize the power of what you are as an energy being. Look at your cell phone. I get people all the time with that. I say, well, let me ask you, you know how that cell phone works? No. Well,
I love asking people that question. Do you know how a light bulb works? Do you know how a combustion engine works? They go, no. I'm like, so how do you understand pretty much anything? Well, I need proof that it works. But if you don't understand basic concepts that have been around for decades, how are you going to understand quantum physics or spirituality? The reality is it's visible by effect. And you can have faith to a certain degree of where you notice a difference. It's like taking supplements. Do you notice a lot of feel from taking supplements? But you look at your blood work. It's really interesting. You look at your blood work and it goes, you're deficient in this, this, and this. You start taking it, you go back to the blood work, and you have proof. And it's funny because a lot of people want to conceptualize, well, how exactly do all these things work? It's like, have you taken the time to actually study it? No, I need a 5-minute version of it. Imagine learning quantum physics in 5 minutes. Wouldn't that be grand? It'd be like in the Matrix. Morpheus, I need to learn how to drive a bike. That'd be great.
I don't think I could take it. I don't think I could
We
take
go
it.
into overload, too much information.
But the reality, Michael, is the fun part is that you and I, we are alive at the precise time when all of this is coming forward. There will be nothing to stop it. And the attacks and the discredited and all the things that people are going to say and do. Think about in 1975 or 1977, me and Raymond talking about the near-death experience. People, when I didn't go to hell, it made everybody in the world mad. And the ladies, he said, well, let me ask you something with your personality, Mr. Brinkley. What about hell? I mean, you and anybody would have known about hell. I said, well, honey, let me tell you something. They didn't bring it up while I was over there, and I damn sure didn't bring it up. I said, so when you get down to the end of the tunnel and you meet that being of light, the first thing I want you to do is ask them.
It's interesting conversation that you develop this heaven or hell concept. And, religion goes back so far. And I think at a certain point, they're like, we need to come up with a way to control people so they stop acting in ways we don't like. Well, maybe we should just tell them they're going to go to a really dark place if they don't act correctly. And they'll go to a good place if they do. Like Muslims have the 40 virgins kind of story. Christianity has heaven and hell. Again, I don't believe we're going to a dark or a light place after. It's just a place.
Nonsense.
It's here. Here is heaven or hell.
Nonsense. See, It's all nonsense. Watch. I think it was Pope. I don't think it was Innocent the Third. It might have been Pope Innocent III. It was after Leo X. He read Dante's Inferno, 1513. And fundamentalist religion and hell became Dante's Inferno. Literally. When you look up hell, okay, what we look at in English is the Greek word halos. That's how we got it translated to us, okay? So when you look it up, you see that most of that stuff is utter nonsense. You have to create a way of fear to control and manipulate people, the same as now social credits, the new Messiah social credits, okay? So how do you control and manipulate people? The
concept, give them some
concept,
sort of currency of metrics, whether it's real or not.
yeah, and whether you fit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get saved by God, remember they were paying indulgences. Leo X, you could buy your way into heaven for 2 shekels or whatever it was, okay? When you look at all that stuff, it's just nonsense.
I'll forgive you for a prayer and $10.
Yeah, well, they had a certain amount of money, and they printed a coin that would be that you would take that coin up in your
no
payment.
Kidding. That's really where that started.
That's how good it got. You could buy your way into heaven just as this. So when we look at the joys of what religion does, and I always want something to bring people peace, but I have never in all these journeys seen anything more wondrous than divinity at work in how I view that the journeys. And how from the point of view that I look at it from a point of how I can help that person and that family get through it. And that if I had to look down today and somebody said, well, tell me the value of your whole life. Well, I made the world for passing veterans better than I found it. When I went to the VA, it had no hospice program. It had no palliative care program. It has one, and I am one of the developers of it. So from a near-death experience, panoramic life review, series of questions, and a belief system that has come true, written down 30, 50 years ago, 48 years ago, I need people to believe 2 things. Well, 3 things. They are great, powerful, and mighty spiritual beings with dignity, direction, and purpose. And no matter what you think, everything is energy. You can't always react and act like it is because there are rules within the framework. but taking care of yourself so that maybe someone who needs your help, you're capable of being able to help them. And in return, that means there's somebody capable of being able to help you. And we've begun to electrify energetically the nature of our spiritual identity within the framework of this reality. And please, everybody, look up your electrical self. Look up what it takes to make your heart beat. Your body spends 100 all day to make 100,000 times to produce enough chemical electricity to make your heart beat. Mm-hmm. That means you're an electrical being.
So let's get back to these boxes of knowledge, these pieces that you saw on the other side. I believe you mentioned that one fell into the realm of the EE system, or was the EE system.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'd like to give people watching the show some takeaway things on how to improve their electrical body. So maybe we can talk about 5 spiritual things and 5 physical things, and maybe just throw something at me. What if I was in terrible shape and I wanted to improve my electrical body? What would you recommend?
Trace minerals.
I agree, and let's pause there for a second because I actually did a study with the EE system and our hyperchargers. So we looked at everything, and we started off with distilled water, and we were sitting there like, well, we're not getting a lot of measurements out of this. So we moved up to some different kinds of water, and we found one that actually had a higher amount of trace minerals in it. I was reading about it, I'm like, that's interesting. We're getting a lot of interaction with this one. So we went to a saline solution, and everything went off the charts. So we were able to show before and afters of our technology with the trace minerals, because I was like, well, your body's mostly water. And we're like, well, okay, distilled water is actually dead. So like, how do we get to something closer to what blood is? And and so the trace minerals, I've scientifically verified that your body really, really needs it for electrical activity.
Exactly.
So trace minerals, everyone. And let's move on to some other things.
Yeah, because watch for trace minerals. Compound enzyme and solution reactions. This is all the body does. Mm-hmm. Why trace minerals? It has to have them. There's 66 base trace minerals that allows compound enzyme and solution reactions to happen. So we all know that we're not getting enough nutrition out of the food we eat.
Valid.
We all know that, okay? Knowing that means you have to supplement. You can't fool around and not give the body what it needs, okay? Second, the value of your breath. People do not breathe. They do not set an intention and a value of their breath. What is that breath for? The divine nature of the art of breath is the nature by which you recognize the divine. You can't see it, hold it. You can feel it when you wave your hand, but it is what allows you to function. It takes oxygen to create that 0.45 milliamps. So the value of your breath and the appreciation of your breathing. I am a big breather. I put out a thing on my Facebook called I call it flashpoints because of being struck by lightning, and it's all about breathing. And I set up a weekly thing to breathe about. You know, I said while you're going through the rest of your breath, take a value of this breath. And I'd like to say this, everybody. Take a couple of times a day, no matter how stressful it is, and stop. And breathe. Breathe in and hold it. 1001, 1002, hold it. And breathe out without thinking anything. Without really thinking anything. I do this 3 times a day. Why? The divine needs you to go from where they are through you to manifest over here. Mm-hmm. So by breathing, they can transmit nature onto this planet, into this system, without you aggravating, invading, messing up, thinking some old frickin' nonsense. So give the divine a couple of breaths a day. Okay, that's number 3. Number 4, gratitude. There can be no force greater than being appreciated and be thankful. Okay, because gratitude structures reality, either positively or the lack of. How thankful people are or appreciative constructs reality. Number 4, think about forgiveness. Think about it. And what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is taking one step to the right and getting out of the way, so whatever they got coming, it's you standing between them and getting it done. You know, I forgive you, one step to the left. Good luck, Bubba. So those are the 5 things. Caregiving is important. The law says you made a deal when your time came up. They put out what had to be done. EE system has to be put in place. It's got to come to a crossroads. It's been here 20 times that I know of. It's going to come, but it has to sustain. It has to sustain and hold its integrity and hold a place until new innovation comes. The next level of it, from electrical to hydrogen, it's going to happen. They're going to discover a smaller chip. They're going to discover a whole. Look at what we've seen since me, from vacuum tubes to chips to damn self-driving cars, to that next level, and to hold that. Okay. So knowing that that's what has to happen, knowing that everything's energy, how do I learn to direct and control that energy? Those are the 5 things that I think a person can do. Gratitude and forgiveness becomes a way to commune with divinity. To be able to come to, this is what made those beings, angels, sad. They weren't sad, they were jealous, whatever you want to call it. Was that we are capable of coming here in what appears to be a physical plane and to deceive ourselves into believing it. And co-creating with the divine force. I mean, when you look at co-creating, it's geometrical configurations. It's esophageal frequencies. It's harmonics and resonance.
Coherence.
Yeah. Okay. Why in the world would people not want to know that? Why in the world would you not want to live by it? Because how I can raise myself from the dead against impossible odds of knowing this about me and about the world that I live in. And by getting people to look at it from that standpoint and that point of view, they are automatically migrating into the next phase of reality. They're already migrating into it. Because when you're looking at yourself as electrical, you'll be amazed at what you see. And what the studying of it becomes important, Michael.
And you had a good point there too, of when you start realizing everything is energy, the construct kind of falls off, because people are put in this box of this is how things are, and it's like they're bowling and they've got bumpers, and they're like, oh no, you got to stay in this lane. It's like, but there's like 20 other lanes over there. Oh no, stay in this. But when you realize everything's energy, the construct falls apart and you become kind of limitless if you accept it or want to explore it. Your pathways are infinite.
And what your dream states are.
Oh.
Always remember what your dream states are, because you have hypnagogic states. That's how the psychologist and I think Ryan described it, or one of the 30s Austrian psychiatrist, Jung defined it. But these are levels of consciousness. I'm going to tell one more thing that I've never told.
All right. We're getting a lot of fresh ones.
There's the things that, but I didn't never see. With you, Michael, it's easy because I don't have to do, hell, you build electronic healing equipment. What am I supposed to be worried about?
You created a protocol that didn't exist for humanity that needed it.
So we are.
Apples and oranges.
Yeah, but watch it. There is a level of beings, and I always call it the circle of 7, the logos, what the Greek talk about.
Mm.
We hold a certain value that 6 other levels of consciousness operate on. Who we are as spiritual beings, pretending to be physical beings, with all the traps that come with it. 666 is the figure for carbon. Okay, so if you're looking for what 666 is, there's 3 or 4 places to go. But that's what carbon is. So your physical life is the evil. That's what it is, being pulled out into that life as opposed to the inner life and achieving the goal. This is what I think. Well, when you have that as a force that you're working with and working on, it becomes imperative to stay conscious about who you are. Okay, like I always tell people, you are a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. The only thing that can ever go wrong is you allow something to affect your dignity, which will skew your direction and your purpose. The number one thing that causes that is your opinion of yourself. Because you have such an opinion of yourself based on what you think other people should think of you. You want them to think of you or hope they will think of you instead of what you think about you and projection outward. And who gives a crap what they think about it? Okay, so when you come down to that whole point in the game, then it's imperative to have that sense of appreciation and realize we are the bottom or the top. We hold a procreative, creative level of spirituality co-created with God as physical beings. Nobody can do it. Aliens come here. Everybody comes here. Everybody trying to figure out how we procreate, how we have that divine spark. And yet, as crazy as we are doing this world of evolution and evolving. And it's happening so freaking fast. And those 6 other levels depend on us being us. This is what I got, Michael, from hanging out with these beings, and them talking. It's like I didn't matter. Okay, we got to come and show. Let's put the curtain up. Let's dazzle him with some future. Okay, well, he don't matter now. We can talk about him. Okay, and I mean, this is how I saw it. And then the next thing I know, I'm floating above my body. And I'm looking at it, and I had no idea how you get back in that thing. This is me thinking. True. That rule.
There's no try, just do.
Well, yeah, but there's nothing on the heel, okay? And so how do you get back in it? And each of these experiences, Michael, has been the same in texture, how it was created. It was also, other than the boxes of knowledge, which I was really there. It wasn't sensual like everywhere else. I was actively involved in a timeline that was a future event that in the 75 had not occurred but was occurring because I was actually there. All the timeline shifting and all the dimensional reality shifting, it's common for me to think it now because I witnessed it.
I mean, you could kind of think of time as probably a 3D construct. And so you removed yourself from the 3D construct into, we'll just say, a quantum construct to leave it vague, and there's many dimensions. Maybe time doesn't exist where you went, and so you could go back. It seemed like you already did go back in that, and then you actually went forward. So maybe to time travel, you actually just need to be struck by lightning. And viewers, please don't go out. I'm not advocating that. It doesn't sound like it's the most pleasurable experience, and you might not live. But this man has done so, and it seems like he was able to time travel.
I have to believe that. I saw and wrote down future events to 2030. Okay, and look how many they come true. And the biggest thing is that we haven't changed. We're still starting wars. We still doing the same thing that we did after Vietnam, except it's just getting worse.
It's the old cycles that the people it basically comes down to control, power, money, and I think it's mostly power and less the money side. People want to control the outcome of things. It's once you have everything, you want more power, and they're used to doing that through a certain way, and the cycle needs broken. And hopefully, humanity's evolved to a certain point where we can break that cycle. And
I think it's
people
breaking.
like us just talking about it, I think even helps, because then people they're aware that there is a problem, there is a cycle, and it needs broken.
Well, it's breaking.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it right now, it's breaking. And I say this, the world I was born in 75 years ago has disappeared. It's gone. And the new one's being created, and our part, mine is healthcare and energetic healthcare. That's my world, and this is your world. This is our job. How do we interweave all of this to make it so palatable and so comfortable for people? They don't know how they existed without it, just like their cell phone or just like their gym membership. If you look at EE systems, I'm a big proponent of EE systems. Why? I have 25 freaking years with you guys.
He's still alive, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's our technology.
Yeah,
but
well, I'll say it. I'll say it. What did I do for 2 nights? I spent 12 hours a day in the system. I took my detox baths. Why? I need to keep a certain infection out of my heart. Okay? So what do? I'm an electrical being.
you got to detox.
I'm going to put myself in the array. I'm going to put my trace minerals in. I'm going to put them in place. I'm going to go and do whatever it takes based on intention in that field. And in that field, by focusing the right way, I give my body the tools that it needs. I give it the freedom and consciousness to operate within that field. And I have a trusting spiritual nature that I will get better. And I am here still. You know, I always say, well, what are you going to do? Kill me? Well, big freaking deal. What's that?
They keep trying,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen. Well, Dannion, I think we've covered a lot today, and I think we should have you back again at some point. And I want the viewers to, if they've just fallen in love with you and just can't get enough of you, I believe you said Dannion.com.
Everything that I'm doing is to finish. This is everybody who knows me or read the books know. This is the final vision. As we come together in this teamwork and alliance of looking at how to do it, it just only reinforces the fact that we are energetic beings, light therapy and energetic therapies moving in fields so that the body can understand safety within a field. It's in it any freaking way. You're already in it anyway. Ask your cell phone. It'll tell you, okay? Are we in an energetic field? Yes.
Constantly.
Yeah. So
you just want to be in a cohesive one that brings harmony and cohesiveness.
benefits the unfoldment. So I am glad, and I like to come back a couple of times as all this starts to evolve, because there's the opportunity, what happens when people see who they are ethereally. It's such an empowering place when times are tight, times are hard, and if you have no place to turn, instead of turning to hoping that somebody's going to come that hadn't come in 2,000 years. Or,
Yeah, don't externalize your power. You are the power.
Yeah. Or you have the ability to inwardly connect to it.
Mm-hmm.
And what all this stuff that's happened is trying to keep you from being able, vaccines, all this is trying to keep you from being able to attach to that place. Don't let it happen, everybody. And Michael, thank you for letting me be on this show.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure as usual. So Dannion.com, Saved by the Light is his book, which he's been mentioning on Amazon. I believe you have a movie on Amazon Prime.
I have a new show out called Beyond the Physical Experience,
Amazing.
Beyond the Physical Life. I'm doing a 3-part series, Michael, Beyond the Physical Life, then Beyond the Mental Life, and then Into the Spiritual Life. So I have the first one up and out, and now it's like at 5 shows, festivals, been accepted at 5 festival shows to be presented, win a couple of awards, and then we'll do the other 2 parts.
Oh, that was one question I was going to ask you. As being part of the, the old guard, so to speak, one of the, we'll call it the original light workers or angels or whichever terminology you want to be, you are a very powerful person on the planet who's done a lot of great work. There are future leaders out there, the new guard, so to speak. What would you say? One thing, one simple thing, what would you say to them?
That's a hard one because there's so many choices. Remember the panoramic life review, everybody. You will see your entire life pass before you. You will watch it from a second-person point of view as you were your best friend, and you will literally become every person that you ever encounter. And you will feel the direct results of that interaction. And what you need to realize is it's not what you're doing, it's why. Your intentions every day to set goals to achieve, and at the end of the day to review those goals to see how close you got, gives you stability to be able to be respected and appreciated. And not only that, to quietly, inwardly guide yourself on the path you have chosen and was chosen for you.
Thank you. That was an amazingly powerful statement. I was expecting something way simpler, and that was like put it up on a mural. Beautiful.
But Mike, this is the reality. When a person deals with it this way, they just deal with it. The curtain lifts. I mean, the reality of this physical stuff becomes a third as opposed to 99%. Mm-hmm. It becomes a third of your reality. The other 2/3 is experiencing, interacting, being a part of, being present in, and co-creating, and to feel and to know that I can make angels jealous is a good feeling.
Amen. All right. Well, I want to wrap the show because I'm pretty sure we're over time. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you to Dannion. Thank you all for viewing. If you want to find out more about the Energy Enhancement System or EE System and learn how everything is energy and how it can effectuate you, please go to eesystem.com. We have 700 EE Systems centers around the world. There's probably one close to you. You don't even know it. And I'd just like to leave the viewers with a thank you. God bless. Be grateful and be kind to humanity and everyone around you. Thank you.